Palia is a social game with a big open world where you can gather resources, craft, build your dream home, and make friends with NPCs and other players. It feels like a mix of popular games like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, My Time at Portia, and Spirit of the Island. The game's story is set in a magical world where humans vanished thousands of years ago, until one day they started coming back. Is Palia's beautiful world and unique story enough to make it a top contender with these familiar titles? Or will its flaws make it stand out for all the wrong reasons? The first time I launched Palia, it took about 8 minutes to reach the title screen. That sounds long, and it is, but let me explain why. When you start the game, you have to create a Palia account. I'm not a fan of games that make you create extra accounts, but in this case there's a reason. The game is on Nintendo Switch and various PC gaming platforms like Steam, Epic, and through Palia's standalone launcher. So having a single account lets you sync your progress across these platforms. Once my account was set up, I logged in, made my character, and watched a short introduction video. After that, I talked to an NPC and followed the tutorial prompts to leave the area. Then the title screen finally showed up. This whole process, character creation, intro videos, basic tutorials, is pretty standard in games, so I can't really blame Palia for that. The good news, once your character is created, it takes less than a minute from hitting the play button on Steam to running around in the game world. Pretty fast, right? But there is a small catch when it comes to playing with friends. Inviting a friend to Palia is pretty easy, though it's not as simple as games with built-in Steam support. This is likely because you need a Palia account, so instead of using your Steam ID, you'll have to search for your friend using the in-game interface. That can get tricky if your friend uses a different gamertag than usual or picks something hard to type. Thankfully, text and voice chat on a variety of platforms makes this less of an issue. Still, it would be great to see Steam integration for players on that platform. I haven't confirmed if this is available or not on other platforms, but if it isn't, it should be. Once you've added a friend, you can send them a request to join your party, unless that little catch I mentioned earlier gets in the way. Like many games, even after the 8-minute intro, there's a tutorial you need to finish before you can accept party invites. This means that if you're starting a game with a friend for the first time, plan on spending about 15 or 20 minutes completing the tutorial before you can actually meet up in the game. After that, connecting with friends is smooth and straightforward. Palia offers a mix of objectives. Some are open world activities, which I'll talk about later, while others follow a more linear path with ongoing quests. For example, you start by building a tent as your first home and placing furniture. This eventually leads to meeting someone who will give you building plans for a house. From there, you level up your mining and forging skills to unlock a smelter and sawmill recipes. Then you'll craft materials to build your house. You get the idea. Each quest flows into the next. This setup means that you don't have to worry about figuring out what to do next, keeping the game's directions simple and easy to follow. Even though the quest system is pretty simple, Palia has plenty of depth to keep players interested. One thing that really surprised me was the character creation screen. While there aren't a ton of categories to customize, the number of options in each category was kind of shocking, in a good way. In many games, you only get a few hairstyles or outfits unless you pay for extras, but in Palia, there are lots of choices in each category, so the world doesn't feel like it's full of identical players. After finishing the tutorial and starting quests, you'll discover other tasks tracked in your journal as accomplishments. There are over 120 accomplishments, and many of them have 3 to 5 levels, so there's a ton to do. Tasks range from simple things like collecting gold or mining to completing collections of fish or bugs. You can also build relationships with NPCs by chatting and giving gifts, or you can make friends with players in the game. Additionally, you can go hunting, tour other players' homes, garden, or try out tons of different crafting options. There's so much to do in this game, it's hard to get bored. In terms of replayability, I found something interesting. There doesn't appear to be a way to start over, a way to delete your character, and it looks like you can only have one character. Now, most people may not want to do that stuff anyway, and I can tell you that in the 2 hours I played of Palia, I only scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. However, I could see someone wanting these features to play different characters with different people, like a parent wanting to level up with their child, and then like another character to play with friends. The ability to delete a character so you can just start over if you feel like it would also be cool. You could argue for or against these features, but ultimately you can play with anyone you'd like regardless of where you're at in your own questline or your accomplishments, and because of that, there's a lot of game to be played here. The storyline definitely moves you in a solid direction, and with all of the items I mentioned in terms of the game's depth, you'll be very busy for a long time. In addition, the developers have said, Palia has a deep, evolving story that we plan on telling with you for years to come. That's a very promising statement, which makes me excited for the game's future. Figuring out how many people are playing Palia isn't easy because it's available on different platforms and only Steam seems to share player stats. If anybody knows how to find player numbers for the different platforms, let me know in the comments because I couldn't track them down. As of the writing of this script, Steam shows nearly 5,600 active players, which is a decent sized player base. Interestingly, two articles, one from Games Industry and another from Sports Illustrated, reported that Palia had over 3 million players within 6 months. However, they didn't break down how many players were on each platform. Looking at Steam charts, the peak player count was 11,835 in April of 2024. This number has bounced around a bit, hitting 12,700 in September and dropping to about 9,800 in October. So while we don't know the total number of players, one thing is clear. Steam is definitely not Palia's main platform. Let's shift gears a bit and dive into some things that I think make Palia such an enjoyable experience. One thing I love in any multiplayer game is a friendly and helpful player base, and let's be real, that's rare these days. But in Palia, kindness and teamwork are encouraged right from the start. During my time in game, I saw players offering feedback, answering questions, and even reaching out in chat about events happening in the game world. Even if I didn't fully understand everything that was going on, it was amazing to see such a positive vibe. The world of Palia is absolutely stunning. The stylized art makes every part of the map feel fresh and exciting. From the NPCs to the villages and the landscapes in between, everything feels alive and unique. Unlike some other games where the world feels repetitive, Palia always gives you that sense that there's something new to discover. I was pleasantly surprised by the lack of aggressive microtransactions. Sure, there's a premium store, but I didn't even notice it until I stumbled upon it while browsing in-game shops. I'll dive into the premium market more a little later, but for now, let's just say it's refreshingly subtle. Finally, the story in Palia is fascinating. I haven't made it too far yet, but the concept is so cool. Humans vanished thousands of years ago, and now, out of nowhere, they're coming back. That's an incredible setup, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Because I've covered what makes Palia great, it's only fair to talk about some of the areas where the game falls short. First, credit to the developers for creating a gardening system that's different from what we usually see in games, but honestly, it's a bit frustrating. In most games, you prepare the ground with a simple slap of a hoe before planting seeds. In Palia, you have to quote-unquote paint the ground with your tool to prepare it, and it feels clunky and unnecessary for what should be a straightforward mechanic. Some players might enjoy this unique approach, but since gardening in most social sims is more of a set-it-and-forget-it activity, it feels a little out of place compared to the game's other smooth and familiar crafting and gathering systems. When you're ready to build your first house, you'll need 100 sapwood planks and 35 stone bricks. Crafting each plank takes 1 minute, and each brick takes 2 minutes. If you unlock the sawmill and the smelter at the same time, you're looking at about an hour and 40 minutes to craft everything. If not, it'll take nearly 3 hours to craft the materials one after the other. The good news, these items can be crafted offline, so you don't have to stand around waiting. The bad news? It feels strange that after crafting your tent as a temporary home, you're immediately tasked with building a house. Why have a temporary home if you're just going to move out so quickly? It'd be better to skip the tent altogether or make the house faster to build, unless of course you're really into camping, I guess. Finally, let's talk about Palia's premium store. Cosmetic items in games like Fortnite often range from $8 to $20, but those items often feature big-name collaborations like A-list celebrities or licensed vehicles. In Palia, most items are priced at about $8.50 or $16.50, which isn't terrible, until you see outfits priced at 3,400 coins or roughly $32.50 each. Some bundles cost 6,800 coins, meaning that you'll need to spend $65 to buy enough currency packs. While no one is forced to buy these items, this price feels steep, especially compared to what's offered. Sensible players may choose to vote with their wallets, and hopefully this feedback will lead to more reasonable pricing in the future. Overall, Palia is pure fun. Whether you're chopping down trees, smashing rocks, tackling quests, or building up your collections, there's no shortage of things to do. And that's just scratching the surface. The blend of unique storyline with the social sim genre creates an experience that's sure to captivate players of all ages. Add a few friends to the mix and you've got a perfect recipe for endless adventures and excitement. I can definitely see myself coming back to Palia to explore all its mysteries. It's a relaxing game you can play at your desk, on your TV, or even on the go with your Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck. Just keep in mind that some features on Steam Deck might not work perfectly, so your experience may vary depending on where you play. Aside from a few strange game mechanics and some pricey premium items, Palia was an amazing experience. I'd recommend it to just about anyone. That's why Palia earned a 10 out of 10, placing it in S tier. If you're thinking about trying Palia, I've added links to the store pages in the description. If you like this video or agree with the S tier rating, please hit that like button. If you disagree or have a free-to-play game you'd like me to review, share your thoughts in the comments. Also, don't forget to click the video link on your screen, because the next game might be your new favorite.